Hi everybody, welcome back to the Elves build swap video with the Mori. One bike to rule them all. I think that's probably a phrase more commonly associated with the gravel bike than just about anything else. Is that realistic? Is it possible? If so, who for? I think are some of the key questions. Why one bike to rule them all? I think this heavily depends on who you are as a cyclist and as a person. If you are of any age and enjoy a wide variety of cycling terrains, then one bike to rule them all is almost impossible. We've seen people on a hardtail that gives everyone on a road bike a hard time, but let's face it, 947 Cape Town cycle tour, you're never going to be as comfortable or as quick on any of those offerings as you would be on a road bike. We've also seen people with road bikes cramming in the most ridiculously wide tires, not even thought to be humanly possible, and trying to use that as its do-it-all, but also never really quite fitted into anything and did nothing great, and most things below average. Into the gravel bike, and you've got something in many instances that is indistinguishable visually from a road bike. If anything, maybe even better looking in some instances, that has a more relaxed geometry, which basically just means puts you in a more comfortable position than you might find in a road bike, and takes wider tires, allowing you to be really comfortable. Other than where you've got some form of suspension built into the bike, the tire width, the tire pressure is the suspension. And then frames have got different proprietary claimed innovations to make them more compliant and more flexible. And those things combine to make up this, this offering. Can it be done? I think it already has. Personally, I rode with Simon Stoffberg in the Cape Town cycle tour. He was on a Trek Checkpoint, which is their gravel bike offering. He had the right gearing, he had road tires on, road wheels, and rode that race as if it was a Sunday cruise. I don't think at any point he looked uncomfortable. He never looked undergunned. Having spoken to him about it, there's no drawback. And that was in one of the symbol groups, which is just off of the elite guys. So can it be done? Absolutely it can, and you can still go really fast. It's yet to be seen how wild he is on a gravel race. I know there's some coming up, so we'll see how he fares there. But we know that the gravel bikes are really competent. And I think that the same can be said here. I have now ridden the bike on a Thursday doing efforts up Constantia Neck with the crew. I've done a Savage Loop, I've done the gravel roads, I've done Varput, and there's nothing that it wasn't able to do, it wasn't able to finish or accomplish. And it did all of them really well. It did all of them very competently. At no point did I feel like I was extremely undergunned or on the wrong piece of equipment. And that's really appealing. One, if you're on a budget. Two, if you just don't have the space to have multiple bikes. It's just for a lot of reasons, it just makes a lot of sense. In some areas of the country, we also don't have the best road infrastructure, and riding, a 25, 28 mil tire on a delicate road bike often equals cracked wheels, potholes, and it's a safety hazard. Let's face it, we live where we live, and the challenges are what they are. Gravel bike, wide tires, you're almost always going to just roll over whatever that is, which is a safety and a convenience thing. So why not one bike to rule them all, I think, is more the question. And I think that leans more into the extremes than it does the norm. If you're a road racer, you live and die and love for road racing, buy a road bike. The geometry is more aggressive, which means it puts you into a more aerodynamic position. That makes a difference. How many watts, depending on who you ask, that's significant or it isn't. But if road racing is what you do, aerodynamics makes a big difference. Stiffness makes a big difference. I think you'll find a road bike to be harsher in some instances, and this is really talking in the extremes here, but it is likely to be more stiff and less compliant because it doesn't need to be. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It needs to be stiffer and harsher to, get the maximum return for your power. The better a road frame can transfer power from your legs down to the road, the more efficient you're going to be. So if you're a racer, and I don't necessarily mean just if you, in the elite batch and winning these races, if you're a road racer and that's what you do and that's what your passion is, a road bike is always going to outperform a gravel bike. I think expecting it to do that and be as good as at that level is ridiculous. By the same token, it isn't a mountain bike. Yes, you can go and do 361, which is a mountain bike race, and finish. But I'd love to see you do 1 to L's on a gravel bike or anything similar. Like it's just not a good idea. These bikes are all built for specific purposes. A lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of R&D goes into making them really good at what they do. This one just happens to be really good at doing a couple things very, very, very well. And I think that leans into your personal preference rather than, definitive boxes that says it can or it can't. I intend to run the bike as one to rule them all. My acid test will be how far along I can get on a Savage Tuesday before getting dropped. These days, there's some pretty big firepower in there, so I'm almost never at that front group all along. So that'll be my test, and then doing that with road tires and road wheels on it. I mean, all this needs, to get 98% of the way there for me is swapping out the tires, taking those off and putting some 28 more road tires on is all that needs for me to become, relatively competitive. Gearing wise, I'm going to spit out on the flat stuff, but I mean, where am I racing on a long flat surface for anything that really matters? It's with my mates on a Tuesday or over the weekend. And I'll be very surprised if that isn't enough for me to be where I would typically have been. So yeah, the gravel offering in general, and certainly Elves' gravel offering in the Mori, is extremely appealing as one bike to really do all of the above extremely well. And I think that's why it makes the offering so appealing and has generated the interest that it has. If you think I've left anything out, if you think this is absolute hogwash and one bike could never rule anything, please jump in the comments and call me out. If you have any questions, anything you'd like us to add, please let us know. Ciao.